Hey guys, it's Sebastian from AskSebby, and today we are going to review the TD Cash Rewards Visa card. As a reminder, this is going to be on the US side and not the Canadian side, even though TD is a Canadian bank. We'll look into the pros, the cons, and also some alternatives for this card. If you are someone who wants to see more videos like this, leave a like on this video and also subscribe to the channel. Starting off with the benefits, I think this card is pretty good if you are someone looking for a bonus and looking for low-hanging fruits. So I know there's a lot of people who are after cashback who just want to grab those $200 for $500 of minimum spend offers for cards that don't have annual fees. If you fall into that group, then I think this card makes a lot of sense when it does have that increased offer. The other group that this is good for is people who just want to have a lot of accounts to increase their total account number, but who just don't want to have annual fee cards and they're purely after that number. For both of those things, I think it does a pretty good job, but that's pretty much it. If you look into the disadvantages of the card, there's a ton, and we can kind of see this by looking into the multipliers for the card. With this card, you're going to get 3% back at restaurants, 2% back at grocery stores, and 1% back at other places. There's no annual fee, and the card is only available if you live in specific states, mostly on the East Coast. There's also no foreign transaction fee, which might be interesting if you are someone who travels a lot. I feel like if you do fall into that group though, then you're probably going to benefit from travel cards, which don't really fall into this group of stuff. So there's just better options out there if you even take one trip a year. Maybe if you're a student and you can't get those cards, that might be an issue, but I don't know. I just feel like there's other options that either have annual fees in the first year or have it waived in the first year that makes sense, and then you can always downgrade to other cards because a lot of other issuers have cards that you can downgrade from. On the surface, the card is fine, but it's just not that competitive because there's other options that do better at each of the specific categories. Starting from the bottom at that 1% mark, there's cards that earn 2% on all of your transactions. Fidelity 2% card, there is going to be the PayPal card, as well as the Citi Double Cash card. Each of these effectively earn 2%, and you can make a lot of arguments for different cards, but assuming that you used a card and you pay it off, you're getting that 2%. Jumping up to the 2% cashback at grocery stores, we run into the same problem because if you have other cards that earn 2% on everything and this card only earns 2% for this specific category, not really that competitive. 3% back at restaurants is where this card shines and the main benefit of it, but there's a lot of other cards out there that just do a better job. If you are someone after no annual fee, I think the Uber card at 4% is a bit better. If you're someone after a good sign-up bonus, so if you're hunting for that cash back, then I think the Saver card in the first year makes a lot of sense, and then that has a downgrade path to the Saver 1 card. Saver 1 card is pretty much a better version of this card because it has better multipliers, and I feel like it has better relationships with other issuers and other products and stuff that might give you discounts because Capital One has done a very big push on that side. So that's a bit more interesting. And then if you're someone after travel, Chase Sapphire Preferred, Reserve, even if you just factor in that first year cashback and then you downgrade the card, you're going to get more value. That's not even considering people who are playing the 5% back game if you don't mind thinking about stuff every 3 months to figure out when to use which card. I don't know, it just makes a lot of sense to me to look into those options rather than this one. The final thing is a state limitation thing, which might not sound that bad on the surface, but when I moved from Boston to San Francisco and tried to close one of their checking accounts, back in the day at least, it was a pain to close it because they kept telling me to come into the branch even though there was a zero balance. So they effectively just wouldn't let me close it at that point for whatever reason. And I was at a point where I didn't want to fly back just to do that, and I was heads down working. That might be more of a debit card and checking account specific issue, but it's just one of those things where if you do actually run into a problem and you need to go in for something, it ends up being a pain that there's nothing nearby. In summary, I think this card makes sense if you're someone who is just looking to add cards to their total accounts or looking for low-hanging fruit sign-up bonuses, but even then I would do that after getting other cards just because there's other cards that are a bit more competitive that might help you a bit more in the long term that are worth getting as well. If you're someone after travel, I don't really think you should consider these cards just because you are kind of burning slots up for 524 or just making it more difficult for other cards. This one just doesn't really make sense. In the travel side, for a lot of people at least, $500 in travel value is kind of the minimum threshold that you're looking for in terms of welcome bonuses. On that note, if you are someone looking to learn more about any of the cards that we talked about, pretty easy way to support our channel would be to use the links on our sites or the links in the description box down below. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you guys have any questions. My question for you guys is, what are your thoughts on this card? What's been your experience at TD Bank? Good, bad, and everything else down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps us out. If you know anyone else who benefit from what we just talked about, feel free to share the video with them because it's probably going to help them out. But otherwise, hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time.